Here locally, a lot of people not so optimistic. We went out to Seattle with John Clayton. He sounded like that the people in Seattle weren't very optimistic. So let's bring in KC Joyner, NFL Insider, give us a national perspective of these two teams and how he sees them because, Casey, it's a little mixed bag. The Philly side of things, everybody over here is down in the dumps. This team can't win. And now the Seattle people tell us, well, we're not sure that 8-2 record is really what it looks like. So when you look at Seattle off the bat, 8-2 indicative of who they are, or is that a little bit of a mirage?
I think it's indicative of who they can be, but we talk frequently on the show about how teams like Kansas City, how they get into shootout contests, which is games where each team scores 24 or more points, and how that's a low percentage proposition. Seattle for years has been power running, throw vertical, hit the big play in the passing game, play tough defense. They're still running the ball very well, but they have got a very subpar defense, and they're going to have to get in the shootout contest, and that's going to be a concern for them because the way their defense plays, they're kind of like Kansas City. They can let anybody get into a shootout contest with them.
All right, let's take a look at some of the matchups in this game where we might think there's a big advantage on one side or the other. Let's start with the Eagle defense, which has been playing very well recently up against the Seattle offense, which has essentially been good all season long. I mean, they have been consistently putting up in the 30s. So when you look at that, when we look at Seattle, a lot of times we circle their offensive line. That has been an Achilles heel. It's better now. But how do you like the matchup of Philly's front four? We know that Schwartz likes pressure with four matched up. Should he be able to get the pressure with four against Seattle?
I would think he might be able to get the pressure with four. I'm more worried about how they're going to handle necessarily the RPOs because Seattle, according to some numbers I'm finding at ProFootballReference.com, Seattle's run 71 RPO plays this year. It's the 8th highest total in the league, and they're having great success off it. Funny thing is, off the RPOs, in the past they probably would have run the ball a lot, but this year this year they actually have passed the ball in the past, but this year they've run the ball 49 times, passed the ball 22 times. So if I'm Philadelphia, they always like to be we're going to stop the run game first. If you start to see a lot of RPOs from Seattle, I would either stop the run game first, and I'd also crash down hard on Carson and make him run it to Wilson. I mean, because I'd rather, if I'm going to take a hit on somebody, do I want to hit the running back? Want to hit the quarterback? I'd rather hit the quarterback. So I think you can take that part of the game away from Seattle if you play it right.
They're sixth best rushing team in the league. Philly, as we know, pretty good against the rush here, but obviously they're top 10 passing as well. How does the Philly secondary, the new look secondary, Mills and Darby and now Maddox back, how do they match up with this aerial attack? You got Lockett and Gordon and, obviously Wilson.
The funny thing is that when you talk about you've got Lockett, he had fantastic numbers last year. His yards per attempt and yards per reception totals were just so high they actually nearly broke my system that I have in my draft guide, where it's just they were so phenomenally great. He's not as good this year, but he's over 10 yards per attempt. DK Metcalf is near 10 yards per attempt. Will Dissly and Luke Wilson, and I know Disley's injured, but if you look at their metrics this year, they're also averaging over 10 yards per attempt, and Jacob Hollis is doing very well, so they can even go to the tight end, although Philly can stop the tight end. They've done exceptionally well again covering tight ends this year. They've only allowed 410 yards on receptions to tight ends this year. They're not giving up very many plays at all in the passing game there, so I think they could take that part away. Then you can concentrate on stopping somebody. If I'm them, Metcalf's done very well, but if I'm them, I say I know I can stop your tight ends with my standard coverage, and then I'm going to go ahead and just double Metcalf, or I'm going to double Lockett and let you beat with Metcalf because I don't want to get beat with Lockett because he's that good at Metcalf. Let's see if he can do it, but I think Philly's got a lot of things to worry about in the passing game because it's not just one person they can take out and stop this game.
Nigel Bradham back for Philly at linebacker this week. KC Joyner is with us. Let's look at the Eagle offense. It has really struggled, but is the Seahawk defense just what a struggling offense would order?
It is definitely what a struggling offense would order. I mentioned in past times I've talked about how the red, yellow, green matchups for players. You look at the Seattle secondary, I've got their strong safety, Bradley McDougall. I've got him listed as a green-rated player, so that's great for Ertz and Goddard. I've got Diggs. They picked up Diggs from Detroit a few weeks ago. They had some big problems in their secondary when he wasn't there. Diggs has helped. I had him as a green-rated free safety for Seattle, and that was a problem for them for weeks. Diggs is playing better. He's a yellow-rated, though. He's not. There's no red-rated person in the secondary other than Shaquille Griffin, and I'm not even sure that he deserves that caliber of ranking. So I look at at their secondary and say their safeties would be somebody I would test. Because, again, even as good as Diggs has played over the last few weeks, there's a reason that Detroit didn't want to let him go. He was their captain and things, but there were some things he was not playing as well there, and I think that it could be situations where you can go over the top with him.
Interestingly enough, Philly runs – when they run the ball, they seem to run it well. Now, Lane Johnson is out, and we saw what that did for their offensive line last week. Andre Dillard, the rookie, is going to go over and play right tackle, who's never really played right tackle before. But if you're attacking the Seahawk defense, best way to go about it, through the air or on the ground?
Through the air. Again, those secondary people are not that good, although Philadelphia – here's an amazing stat. We talk about RPO plays. Philadelphia's actually run more RPO plays than Seattle this year. 75 RPO plays for Philadelphia, fifth most in the league versus Seattle's 71. And Philadelphia has 175 yards on the ground on those plays, and they have 210 passing yards. That thing, though, they're not even getting 7 yards per attempt on passing plays up RPO, so they need to get more production there. But I could see them doing a lot of that and getting a lot of uncertainty that Seattle front seven, and with Seattle missing Clowney, too, it looks like he didn't practice all week with him out. That's a huge drop off to their pass rush too. In fact, if he is out, I'm looking at Philly being able to throw the ball not at will, but a lot more frequently, because he's the guy who would put. He's a one-man pass rushing team, and if he's out, then I think Seattle's going to have a heck of a time trying to get after Wentz.
By the way, he is a game-time decision and trending downwards for Seattle this week. That's the news out there. He has missed all 3 practices this week for Clowney. With him out, what is their pass rush? What does it look like?
They're going to have to blitz a lot, and they like to blitz, but they don't do very well with blitzing. They're going to have to do that. I don't want to leave their corners. Again, Griffin's a decent corner for them. They're on to a backup nickel cornerback, though. They're probably going to go with Akeem King, and they've got a couple of people they can choose from. They're probably going to go with him. He's a very risky player. Trey Flowers, the right cornerback, if Jeffrey's going up against him is what it would look like on the schedule, and if you've got him going up there, they may move Griffin to follow Jeffrey, but I don't think they will. Seattle doesn't usually like to have a shadow corner. They didn't even like to do a lot with Sherman sometimes back in the day. So I think Jeffrey's going to have a good matchup. And Aguilar, I know he was frustrating last week, but if you move him to a 3 and you let him be the slot and say put him up against King, I like that matchup. But again, Ertz versus McDougal, I love that matchup. Like Ertz and Goddard, they threw 18 passes to tight ends last week. I think the Eagles did. I think they need to do the same thing and just target McDougal early and often in the secondary, because he has not played well at all.
Casey, we've kind of heard some mixed reactions based on people we spoke to about Andre Dillard as a run blocker and a pass blocker. What do your metrics say?
I grade mostly. Actually, I'm grading lines at this point versus individual players, so I really can't speak to him as a whole. Having said that, it's inconsistent versus I haven't tracked a specific metric, but I would say inconsistent. And if you've got, I've done studies over the years on offensive linemen, and if you've got an offensive lineman who people talk about the left tackle, that old book from Michael Lewis said the left tackle and blindside and all that. Look, it's great to have a great left tackle, but the best thing to have for an offensive line is to not have a weakness anywhere, because if you have a weakness, you can target that just as effectively you can target somebody in the secondary. So if I'm seeing Dillard playing at an inconsistent level, I do want to go ahead and target him, because if you've got one weakness in an offensive line, one bad player can crush a whole offensive line. 4 block well, 1 doesn't block well, you're going to get sacked and you're going to get running play stuff no matter what.
Yeah, and I would wonder if on the other side, if Seattle would be reluctant to blitz because of the one-on-one matchups, and they haven't been good. Because really, other than Alshon Jeffrey, who would the corners really be afraid of beating that? It's funny, but I'm not really trying to be an Alshon, to be honest with you, and you've seen it, hasn't really been himself either when he's been out there.
No, he's jump ball player. If I'm Seattle, no, I want to go ahead and let. Again, they've got so much. If you've got defensive problems, and again, I've got them actually with a Red Raider run defense. So I think that they can stop the run. If you've got defensive problems, if I'm Seattle, I'm sitting back. If I've got defensive problems, and again, I'm down to a backup at my nickel cornerback, I've got a new free safety in there, and I know Diggs has been good in things, but he's also been inconsistent. If I've got inconsistency issues, I'm sitting back and playing shells and saying, fine, Philadelphia, run the ball and beat us that way, because we're not going to let you beat us deep, even if you've got bad corners. And if I'm them, that's what I'm doing, because I know that Wentz it can be that good. But if I'm Seattle, I'm sitting back and saying, you got to beat me on 12-play drives. And I think that they've tried to be more aggressive than that and try to be an impact defense. This is a week if I'm them. I'm more worried about giving up big plays because of mistakes and because of personnel issues than because Philadelphia can generate the big plays.
All right, we'll get his thoughts and pick on that game in just a minute. But first, let's take a look at Week 12. One thought on every game this KC Joyner NFL Insider here. It is week number 12. We are coming down the stretch run. Here we go. Tampa and Atlanta. Both these teams kind of out of it. Atlanta's been playing a lot better. I don't know if they get hot and win out. Maybe they can some mathematically way get in here. But when you're looking at Tampa travel to Atlanta, does Atlanta stay hot?
I think they do. Atlanta's playing exceptionally well. They're playing well defensively, and their defense have been atrocious. They had just been bad in a ton of different ways. In fact, it's weird because I don't know where to rate them. I'm doing my ratings this week, and I upgraded them a lot, and I'm still thinking I maybe didn't upgrade them enough. But I look at them the way they're playing versus a very inconsistent Tampa defense and a Tampa offense that you know is probably going to generate 2 or 3 turnovers. I'll take Atlanta at home.
Buffalo needs this one here at home against a Denver team that, fought hard last week in Minnesota. But can they go to Buffalo and knock off the Bills? And this is one of those games that Buffalo, like, if you want to be taken serious, you got to win this one at home.
It's like they played against Miami, and they should have beat Miami by a lot, and they did. I think that'll be the case here. Denver, I don't think you've read the reports recently. They're kind of their players don't seem to believe in their head coach. I think that once that happens, if they don't believe in the coach, it doesn't get better. I think when they go to Buffalo and they're going up against a well-coached team, I think Buffalo will handle this game the way they did Miami.
All right, Chicago's been a mess on offense. New York has had some issues on defense. Jones, Trubisky, I don't know that any one of those is an attractive option, but one of them is going to win on Sunday.
I like the idea of Barkley going up against the Chicago run defense, so the Chicago run defense plays as badly as it has at times of late, because that Chicago defense just hasn't been the same without Fangio, and the run defense has been very bad. So I'm probably going to pick the Giants in that one just because I like the idea of Barkley, and Barkley even says that he can get back to what he used to be, so I'm going to take a chance to say I think the Giants will take them because of that matchup.
All right, Pittsburgh's in the midst of the playoffs right now. They need this one. It can't lose to this Cincinnati team, but someone is going to have to lose to Cincinnati. Maybe, I guess. They could go 0-16. They're that bad. But is this the week? Bengals at home.
I always worry about Tomlin when you're playing a team like this. Tomlin is where you play down to the competition level of your opponent. I don't think they'll do it this week because it's Cincinnati and they're so mad about what happened last week with Cleveland, and it's a divisional foe. I think that'll do it. Cincinnati's run defense is terrible, and Cincinnati talked about having not believing in your coach. They absolutely don't believe in Zach Taylor. I think they're on the verge. I almost say they're quitting, but they're on the verge of just running out the season. And I think Pittsburgh's motivational levels will make sure Tomlin doesn't happen.
All right, Cleveland. We know their schedule down the stretch is very weak. If they can win out, I guess they would have some sort of mathematical possibility to get in. They play Miami here, so does Cleveland go back-to-back wins after their win against Pittsburgh.
Miami just replaced their strong safety and their free safety, put them both on IR. They've got 2 backups in there, and they were already kind of shaking the secondary anyway, and now they're playing with backups and their entire back end of the defense. I look at that and say, this should be a week where Mayfield does really well and OBJ does really well, and their fantasy managers just finally get some good production out of those two. So I'm going to take Cleveland in that one just because of that injury situation.
Carolina, New Orleans at home. They're playing for the number 1 seed now, so these are the kind of games you got to start stockpiling. If Carolina wants to keep any playoff hopes alive, they need this one. But, Casey, it looks like Carolina's leaking oil.
They are leaking oil. Allen's finally showing that he just doesn't. He's not it. I think some of it might be that, again, you got to prepare to play a 16-game season, and I don't know that he looks like he's running out of gas. And New Orleans has got the 1-2 combination they've got with the running game, and they can get back to doing the kind of offense they want to do. I just think Carolina, like you said, they're struggling in a way, and I think that even CMC, as good as he is against the Red Raider run defense in New Orleans, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near enough. New Orleans will win that one.
All right, Oakland, they're in the playoffs right now. If the season was to end, the Raiders would be in, but the Jets, they've been playing a little bit better. Can the Raiders really? Can we trust them to travel across the country and beat even the Jets?
If I'm moving to power rankings right now, I'd probably put Oakland at 10 or darn close, maybe 12 at the lowest. I think they're playing that well. Upper third, maybe top 10 in the league. The Jets secondary has been shaky of late. I've got 2 Green Raider players in their secondary. Hunter Renfro's been playing exceptionally well. I think Oakland, as well as they're playing, I think the Jets can turn it into a shootout game the way Darnold's playing, but I think Oakland is playing so well on both sides of the ball, I'll take them.
All right, heading to Washington, where Detroit, both these teams out of the playoff mix, but Washington's just been awful. Can Detroit go on the road and pick up a road win?
Hey, $4 tickets for Washington. I mean, the fans can get tickets for $4.
Wow.
It's that inexpensive to get in that stadium right now. Washington's in such a bad way. I mean, look, their whole situation between what they got in their backfield, their receiving core is not good and banged up. Davis might not play. Haskins is just, he'll be something. I think he's going to be a lot better than he is right now, but you've got a bad offensive line, a bad defense. Detroit, if nothing else, even with Driscoll in there, they've been able to hit big plays on offense. I'll take Detroit.
Well, we saw an AFC South battle last night. That was a little bare-knuckle fight, 2017, and now tomorrow, Sunday, you're going to get Jacksonville, Tennessee. The winner of this game stays very much alive.
They do, and Tennessee's got a very good run defense, and Jacksonville is actually very subpar in run defense this year. Their run defense has had some big problems. That's not a place you want to be with going against Derrick Henry. I like that matchup a lot, and again, I don't think Fournette's going to do that well against that Titan or that run defense there, so I'll take the Titans in that one.
All right, big one here, Dallas and New England. The Patriots' best defense, New England best defense. Dallas has had some problems. They haven't beat a team with a winning record here, but New England just doesn't have the same feel. So can Dallas go on the road and knock off the Pats?
It's going to be tough for them because New England is a very strong pass defense, and Dallas has gotten away from what they should be, which is what they were a couple years ago where they're a power running team and they need to throw vertical. They're getting to be a very pass-heavy team. Having said that, New England, they're talking about Brady now. They're confirming today that he's going to play on Sunday with the elbow issue. I'm like, really? If you're having to confirm it, that's not a good sign. And you have the other things that New England just doesn't have that kind of a powerhouse offense. I think I'm probably going to pick New England in this one, but I would not be. I think it's like a 50-50 contest. I don't think it's as much New England as everybody think it is, and I think Dallas could very much pull the upset if they hit a couple big plays.
All right, the Sunday night football game, we got Green Bay, San Francisco. Both these teams playing for number 1 seed. San Francisco has looked a little shaky in recent weeks here. Green Bay going on the road, though. Can they go to San Fran and knock off the 49ers?
San Francisco does look shaky. They're banged up. It looks like Breeden won't play. Having said that, they still have Coleman. They still have Mostert. They still have Jeff Wilson, who's actually a goal line back of theirs who's hit some big plays this year. They've got a triumvirate of running backs they can send against a Green Bay run defense. That's the weakness of that team. They do not stop the run very well. And I don't even know how good their secondary is because teams keep testing them on the ground and having success. So I think San Francisco is going to do a lot of that too. And when you get that edge there, I don't think that Green Bay has an equivalent edge on their side of the ball. So I'll take San Francisco.
All right, KC Joyner is back on Monday. He will look at Baltimore, LA with us and give us one thought on all 12 Week 12 matchups. Right now, the matchup that stands out for you, Seattle, Philadelphia, what will be the difference and who do you like?
I think with Clowney is out, and again, he missed all 3 practices this week, like you said, and it is very questionable to play. And even if he does play, he probably won't be at full strength. If he's out, that defense is already talent bereft as it is, and if he's gone, I'll take Philadelphia in that one. So since I'm projecting it, he'll be out or he'll play at less than 100%. I actually made my pick earlier this week. Said Seattle. I'm changing it to Philadelphia because of that.
All right, NFL Insider KC Joyner here, like all guests appear via the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. He's back on Monday to look at all the Week 12 action. Thank you, pal.
Appreciate it.
KC Joyner here on the Sports Bash.